you guys can spend all day long trying to spin this, that this is Donald Trump's fault, that this is somehow caused by Donald Trump. Oh, he's appointing the wrong people. Oh, he did it. Oh, this is the worst possible thing a president could possibly do to his party and to the country, to sit for a year and say, I will not do this. I will not do this. The rule of law is sacred. We have to respect the justice system. Juries, we have to respect juries. We have to respect the guardrails and the norms of our democracy. These people are liars. Inflation, it's transitory. Afghanistan, it's a success. The border is secure. Robert Hur is a liar. The videos are cheap fakes. Biden has a cold. He'll never drop out. Oh, I'll never pardon Hunter. It's all a lie. It is all a grift. Every American, except the most partisan, brain-rotted people, are going to be outraged by this today. He is going to leave off. You think 39% job approval is bad? Just you wait. Just you wait. He's disgraced today. Outrageous.
You don't need to, but Scott, you don't need to hurl names and say people like me are brain rotted. Come on.
Here we go again, folks. Mainstream liberal media is having another one of those epic meltdowns, and you just can't make this stuff up. President Joe Biden's decision to consider a pardon for Hunter Biden has sent CNN commentators into a complete frenzy. It's kind of like watching a toddler drop their ice cream cone on a hot summer day. Pure chaos. And guess what, guys? The Democrats, they're already begging for presidential pardons before January 2025, as if the writing on the wall isn't clear enough. But let me get this straight. So Biden's pardoning of Hunter just backfired immediately. And now these folks, these talking heads, they're scrambling to try to clean up the mess that they created. Meanwhile, their favorite fallback plan is to call MAGA supporters crazy while pretending that everything is peachy in their collapsing world of hypocrisy. Oh, let's not forget about the disaster in the waiting, also known as Kamala Harris, who's failing so spectacularly that even liberal media can barely hide their cringe. I mean, the double standard is off the charts, folks. When it's Trump or his allies, the left loses their minds. But when it's their own cronies, suddenly it's justifiable and it's merciful. Like, how's that for justice here in America? They're terrified that Trump and his administration are coming back, and they know they're going to have to answer for their mess. So buckle up, guys, because the hypocrisy is about to reach a whole new level. Let's go ahead and break down how these ridiculous liberal media talking heads sound when they twist themselves into knots to defend Joe Biden and his floundering circus of an administration.
Presidential promise to put the law before family.
I said I abide by the jury decision. I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
Letting the world know that he will not wipe away the decision of 12 of his son's peers.
Was asked directly, and he has said he wouldn't pardon his son if he gets convicted.
Let's wait and see what happens if he loses.
Yeah, but he said it.
He's going to get pardoned by his dad. There's no question about that.
The president has ruled out pardoning his son.
Major commitment from the president, accepting the outcome of the trial and also pledging not to pardon his son.
So the challenge for him is really to continue to live up to his values when it was really personal, and he did that today.
It seems like a pretty normal, straightforward answer, but it takes new weight when we see what Trump is saying about the outcome of his trial, what we're hearing from other Republicans who say they don't accept the jury's verdict here in New York.
The contrast is profound. To sit there and say, well, I'm not going to intervene in the legal process, and I wouldn't pardon my son. One side, Democrats and Joe Biden protecting the justice system. And on the other, Republicans and Trump protecting Trump.
Our current president of the United States has so much respect for the law that he has said he would not pardon his son.
Republican Chuck Grassley weighing in with this, saying, I'm shocked that President Biden pardoned his son Hunter because he said many, many times he wouldn't. And I believed him. Shame on me. CNN's Lauren Fox tracking the reaction in Washington for us. And there's a lot that we've already heard and likely a lot more to come. Lauren.
Yeah, lawmakers expected back in Washington this evening. We can expect that a lot of Republicans are going to be lashing out after this news broke late last night. But there are a number of Republicans who are making the argument that Joe Biden had said one thing and then done another. Now, there were also Republicans in the House who had worked on that impeachment probe, someone like Representative Jim Jordan, the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, who said if there was nothing to their probe, why is Hunter Biden being pardoned now. Obviously, these were different issues, but it's important to point out that the Republican backlash has been swift. Here's another Republican Senator, Ron Johnson, who said, just confirming that under Democratic governments, there truly is a dual system of justice, one that protects Democrats and another weaponized against their political opponent. But it's not just Republicans, Kate, that have criticized Biden. You are also hearing from a small number of Democrats, including Representative Greg Stanton from Arizona, saying, quote, I respect President Biden, but I think he got this one wrong. He also goes on to say this: if this wasn't politically motivated, Hunter committed felonies and was convicted by a jury of his peers. Kate?
Lauren, thank you so much for that. John?
All right, with us now, CNN political commentator Karen Finney and CNN senior political commentator Scott Jennings. So, Karen, you just heard Democrat Greg Stanton, Democratic governor of Colorado Jared Polis. There are Democrats saying they're not happy that President Biden made this decision.
Yeah, well, tough. The president went ahead and did what he thought was right for him and to protect his son. And I think there are going to be Democrats who, from a political perspective, are going to feel like they may have to say something, but who probably on the inside understand why President Biden went ahead and did this. And I got to tell you, crowing from Republicans, and I know my dear friend Scott will have plenty to say about this, but we're talking about, Donald Trump is a convicted felon who literally had pardoned his daughter's father-in-law and just made him ambassador to France. So if we're going to talk about, who's using what system in what fashion, let's put it all on the table. And
liberal mainstream media is going nuts over President Joe Biden's pardon of his son Hunter, and no better person to watch that meltdown than MSNBC's Joy Reid. But before we get to that, let's listen to what she and other Democrats were saying 4 years ago about presidential pardons, and also how that stacks up against what she said just recently. Watch.
The presidential pardon was originally meant to grant the president the power to temper justice with mercy. It was not enshrined in our Constitution so that a dishonorable man could reward his criminal allies, friends, and family for their corrupt practices. I don't have a problem with Biden pardoning his son. He should have pardoned him. The crazies are coming, right? But to me, it's like, pardon more.
This surprises no one, because the double standard within the Democratic Party runs very deep. It's one that mainstream liberal media follows very strictly, because notice how different her tone is with Hunter Biden compared to how she reacted about pardons for Trump's children.
Late last night, we learned that Trump has discussed preemptive pardons for his 3 eldest progeny. The news was first reported by the New York Times. And joining me now is Congressman Adam Schiff of California, chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. Have you ever heard of somebody getting a preemptive pardon who was innocent of all crime? Who's just an innocent person? Have you ever heard of that? Just somebody getting a blanket pardon and they're an innocent person?
But no, it's the president's own family. It's people that have been covering up for the president in addition to his own family. And so there is a self-interest at play as well.
Which makes this clip all that much more entertaining is that these same people are asking for the same thing 4 years later. Joy Reid's on TV saying that President Biden should hand out preemptive pardons like candy. And as you heard, Democratic Adam Schiff doesn't know of anyone who's been provided such a pardon as innocent.
Let's be honest about the fact that Donald Trump doesn't really have a leg to stand on in this one.
So, Scott Jennings, what about that? Steve Bannon, Charles Kushner, Paul Manafort, Roger Stone, Michael Flynn, and Charles Kushner not just pardoned, but also apparently about to be nominated ambassador to France.
Joe Biden is leaving office making the strongest possible case for Donald Trump that anybody could possibly make it, and that's that our government and our justice system is of, by, and for the elites and nobody else. He ran to banish Trumpism from our political system in this country, and he has left it politically and now institutionally the strongest possible political force in this country. It is a complete and utter failure by the head of the Democratic Party and the President of the United States. Never again do I want to hear, oh, Donald Trump's a liar. You can't believe anything he says. Donald Trump will abuse his power. Donald Trump will only use the system. to benefit himself and his family and so on and so forth. Never again. I have one question for Karen, and that is, why did he need an 11-year blanket pardon going back to 2014 when Joe Biden was the vice president? We are sitting on the biggest cover-up of who knows what crimes, and Joe Biden amazingly knows exactly, roughly, when it started. He knows just about when it all started. He's leaving office in complete and total disgrace. He is a liar, and there is no other way to spin this today. This has nothing to do with Trump and everything to do with the character of Joe Biden.
Let me give some context to what Scott is saying just there, Karen, before you address it, because this pardon, I do not believe we have mentioned it, not just granting clemency for the crimes for which Hunter Biden was convicted of illegally purchasing a gun, of tax evasion, but also a blanket pardon for any federal crimes that may have been committed basically between 2014 and 2024. So what about that literal get out of jail free card for a 10-year period, Karen?
Well, look, literally, the president recognizes that Republicans have been for years now trying to attack the president himself, go after his family. And when you have someone who literally ran their campaign on retribution, on the idea of I will be your retribution and getting back at his enemies, I would imagine, obviously I haven't spoken to the president about this, but I would imagine the president took a look at this and said, I want to make sure this is ironclad, that there is nothing that can be done to circumvent what I'm going to do to protect my son and to try to take the target off of his back once and for all. So that's my reading of it. But again, I think that the hypocrisy here, it is astounding. I mean, Donald Trump has said and done things, said things and done other things. And again, he's a convicted felon himself. He has used his power to benefit his friends, his wealthy allies. In this instance, we're talking about a man who decided to take care of his son after years of unrelenting attacks. I don't blame him.
Scott, did you have the same concerns over a justice system for the elite, as you put it before, when it was Donald Trump pardoning Steve Bannon, Paul Manafort, Roger Stone, Michael Flynn, Charlie Kushner? Same concern then?
Listen.
So here's the best part here. He's probably getting one himself, together with Dr. Anthony Fauci and former Republican Representative Liz Cheney. How's that for a double standard?
Joe Biden is reportedly considering preemptive pardons for many Trump rivals, including Dr. Fauci, Adam Schiff, Liz Cheney. Politico reporting this, they write the following. President Joe Biden's senior aides are conducting a vigorous internal debate over whether to issue preemptive pardons to a range of current and former public officials who could be targeted with President-elect Donald Trump's return to the White House. Congressman, putting aside for the moment the questionable legality of a preemptive pardon, I don't think it's legal, but let the lawyers go through that. What kind of precedent would that set?
Well, it would send a terrible message. First of all, it would say that we actually think the people that have been running our government for the last 4 years are guilty of something. Secondly, there are many of these folks that are being talked about that they don't want to pardon. Yesterday, I actually saw Adam Schiff, tell someone he doesn't think it's a good idea. He doesn't want President Biden to do this. I think it sends a terrible message to the American people. There are so many others, average working class Americans that are sitting in prison for things that they probably shouldn't be. Hakeem Jeffries has asked Joe Biden to prioritize them over all of these political preference pardons that we're seeing. But I think the message that this sends is that this administration is very cognizant of the fact that their Justice Department has been weaponized, that they have been in on an act of criminality throughout many stages of this presidency. And I think that they're worried about what's to come.
Because to your point, like let's say Jack Smith accepted a pardon. It would be an admission that he did something wrong. And I don't think for his career going forward, no matter what you and I think of him, is what he wants.
Now, let me ask the question that's probably on your mind right now. None of these people are being legally tried at the moment. In fact, I don't recall any of them having any criminal history to begin with. So why on earth would innocent people just suddenly need a pardon when they did nothing wrong? Are they afraid that President-elect Trump will do the same thing that they did to him? because this is an outright admission that the Department of Justice has been weaponized against political rivals, that the cases that were piled on top of Trump were mostly to interfere with this year's presidential election. Now, this shows us that this party does not practice what they preach. They warn us about Trump and his plan of vengeance, about how he's going to use the DOJ to go after them. He was in...
You guys can spend all day long trying to spin this, that this is Donald Trump's fault, that this is somehow caused by Donald Trump. Oh, he's appointing the wrong people. Oh, he did it. Oh, this is the worst possible thing a president could possibly do to his party and to the country, to sit for a year and say, I will not do this. I will not do this. The rule of law is sacred. We have to respect the justice system. Juries, we have to respect juries. We have to respect the guardrails and the norms of our democracy. These people are liars. Inflation, it's transitory. Afghanistan, it's a success. The border is secure. Robert Hur is a liar. The videos are cheap fakes. Biden has a cold. He'll never drop out. Oh, I'll never pardon Hunter. It's all a lie. It is all a grift. Every American, except the most partisan, brain-rotted people, are going to be outraged by this today. He is going to leave off. You think 38, 39% job approval is bad? Just you wait. Just you wait. He's disgraced. Disgraced today. Outrageous.
You don't need to, but Scott, you don't need to hurl names and say people like me are brain rotted. Come on, that's a little beyond the pale, even for you, Scott.
Listen,
I disagree. We can
for yourself. You don't have to defend this. He's leaving office. You don't have to defend it. You don't have to die on this hill. You can say this is wrong because everybody knows that it is. It's wrong. Are you fine with the lying? Are you fine with him sitting before the election all year and lying to the American people? Are you fine with the lying about it?
I don't think that he was lying. I think he made a decision after the fact and decided this was the right thing for him and for his family. Period. Full stop.
John,
Donald Trump decided that it was okay to pardon
Joe Biden, Karine Jean-Pierre. How many minutes of tape do we have of both of these people telling the American people this will not happen? It's I mean, we could play it all morning. It's a lie, and it's a lie to benefit his own family, and that's all that it is. And everybody who went on TV and said, oh, look how he's the modern George Washington. He's drained every ounce of credibility from every surrogate. If Karine Jean-Pierre had an ounce of self-respect, she'd get off the plane in Africa today, where they're going, so he can avoid the press and resign. He's drained all of her credibility, and everybody else who's defended this, it's draining for them forever.
Well, and Karen, to be fair, Joe Biden, we did play that sound earlier, did flat out say on multiple occasions, and the press secretary did, that he would not pardon Hunter Biden.
He sure did. And I will tell you that he probably heard from a lot of people who said, you know what, sir, go ahead and do it. You should go ahead and protect your son, because who knows what Trump and Trump's Department of Justice will do when they say that their number one goal is retribution. How could you not take the opportunity to say, you know what, this is one thing that I can do for my child. This is one thing I can do to help get the target off of his back. Also, by the way, this is politics. And again, if we're going to, go down and compare list to list, it's not going to look very good for Donald Trump either. And I just don't have a problem with Joe Biden doing this at all.
All right.
Good for him.
Karen Finney.
And I know
office for 4 years. That narrative didn't exactly pan out, because as much as they want us to believe that Trump is filled with hate, it's just not happening. The Democratic Party continues to prove that they are in fact the party of hate and injustice, one that's filled with corruption. No matter how hard they try and project this to Trump and his allies, it's just never going to work. And I'm not saying that the Republican Party is perfect either. Both of them have faults. The only factor that sets them apart is that Democrats feel as if they always hold the moral high ground. So when I asked about innocent people being pardoned preemptively, they already have a response. It's because of people like Kash Patel coming in as an FBI director.
The question is, would they accept a pardon? Because if you don't think you did anything wrong, which they didn't, they might want to not take a pardon. But I will say this, you're talking about an unprecedented
the multimedia marketplace.
Listen, even if they don't indict you, they could investigate you into bankruptcy, torture you with FBI investigations. Kash Patel is evidently going to be our next FBI director. Is that what you want to be dealing with for the rest of your life?
During the time he was out of office.
President Trump got actually indicted by a grand jury.
They tried to bankrupt him. They raided his house. Same thing, Julie.
You see how Julie Rodzinski rolled her eyes when she was told that the same injustice was provided to President-elect Trump? The denial there is everything. So they can talk all high and mighty, but they've proven time and time again that they're hypocrites, that they honestly believe that they're always right, that Trump and his allies are always in the wrong. It's why they're questioning every single one of his cabinet picks. But if you've actually been watching and listening for the last 4 years, then you know that it's this current administration that has a questionable cabinet. It's also this administration that has a history of going after political rivals by using the Justice Department. But Democrats and mainstream media want you to think otherwise. Which brings me to The View. They're not getting as many views or viewers as they did before Trump's win. And it shows, since they're now accepting guests that go against their deranged Trump narrative. Now, I covered this in a previous video where the hosts of the show, they go berserk over Charlemagne going against their message. So make sure you guys check that one out, since this guy has done a complete 180 when it comes to his political perspective toward Trump. Now, as always, appreciate you guys being here. Thanks for hitting the like button and subscribing. Check out this video coming up here next or our playlist down below, and we'll see you guys next time.